What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Today, we're going to talk about PSA's deepening relationship with eBay and how, you know, there's, we're rapidly approaching a time where you could be extremely active in the collectible space, whether it's cards, Pikachus, even comic books in the future. And you might not have to actually physically touch anything. And I know some people probably already have just thrown everything against the screen that you're watching this on or listening to it on. And we're like, what are you talking about? I need things cluttered all around my desk. And some people are like fist pumping. So obviously I had the Nat Turner interview earlier this week. And in that, we talked a lot about PSA offers, eBay integration, them deepening their ties, some of the features of things that could potentially be coming in the future. And you could very quickly get to this place where you're just, if you really want to, you could probably just not touch a card anymore. So that's what we're going to kind of explore today. Before we dive into that, though, I do want to mention, Nat posted this on Twitter. I'm recording this Thursday evening. Earlier in the afternoon, earlier in the evening, he posted this. There is a new, speaking of PSA and eBay integration, now in the eBay app, you can look up pop reports. So there is a, where it says graded PSA 7 for the condition, check PSA data. You click on that and it pulls up the population report for the card. Not gonna lie, that's pretty handy. Now, for rare stuff, I mean, you know, if this is a silver prism, whatever, I don't care. For more rare stuff or things kind of in the weeds, I am still going to go look at the Gemrate Universal Pop Report because I want to see what's out there in other slabs. And that matters sometimes, especially if you're looking at like 90s stuff. A lot of stuff lives in Beckett slabs. But for the purposes of just getting a quick and dirty, what's in a PSA slab in this card, very helpful. Very helpful. One click, boom, it's just there right in front of you. That is pretty good. So let's kind of walk down this path of, do I even need to touch a card anymore with all the eBay stuff that they have going on? So we talked about the ability to essentially check mark a box and tell eBay that you want the card to go to grading, or maybe have it graded while it's already there for AG. They, as in PSA, already has relationships with Fanatics Collect. They're dabbling with Fanatics Live and whatnot, so on and so forth. So let me just kind of paint the picture for you. Let's say, we'll take this from two different angles. Let's say you bought into a break and you want the card graded. You, in a lot of cases, can have the breaker send the card directly to PSA. PSA grades it, and then maybe you get an instant offer on it. Maybe you send it to the PSA vault. Maybe you send it to auction on PSA. It sells, you take your profit. Maybe it was a nice little score. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe you were just recouping as best as you could, whatever the case might be. You get the money back into your account. And you're getting it a lot faster. In the past, you know, the breaker would ship you the card. You would get the card, ship it to eBay, or ship it to PSA. PSA would grade the card, ship it back to you. Then you would list it for sale. Then you would need to ship it to its buyer. In the basically now / near future, the card will go from the breaker to PSA to the end user, whether it's shipped or to their vault. That's saving a lot of time and a lot of shipping and a lot of nonsense. The other thing that we discussed, purchasing raw cards on eBay and sending them directly to grading. Nat said in the interview that is coming in the first half of next year. So I know a lot of people are going to freak out about this, buying cards blind and sending them into grading and not having them in the hand so that they can evaluate them, do whatever they want with them, wipe them with a microfiber cloth, Kirch juice them, whatever it is that you do, you know, do that on your own time. And send them in for grading first. But I guarantee you a lot of people are going to roll the dice and send cards in blind. They're going to look at the eBay photos as best as they can and send them in. A lot of people have had very good success on ComC with this. I think, myself personally, thinking about this, I think the niche will be new released product. You'll want like that release week to release weekend. There's going to be people that just want to sell to get their money back as fast as possible. And they might not care about the condition of the card in regards to grading. They might just say, I could get a couple $100 for this thing right now. Let me just move it. I don't care about the grading. I just want the cash right now. Get the money out of it. And those might present opportunities on newly released products. But let's walk through that same situation again. Let's say you like to hunt raw cards on eBay to grade. Currently, you would buy the card on eBay, have it shipped home. Let's say it checks out. You ship it to PSA. They grade it. They ship it back to you. And then now you either, list it for sale, take it to your local show, do whatever it is that you need to do. And then you have to get it to whoever that buyer is. In the near future, you will evaluate the card online as best as you can. Say, cool, I'm buying this. Check mark a little box. It goes straight to PSA. Grades pop on PSA. And then from there, maybe it's something you don't want to sell right now. Maybe you're just ripping Bowman Draft and you want to hold on to it. Or you're ripping Topps Chrome Update and you want to wait till closer to baseball season to sell it. You can just dump it in your PSA vault and let it sit if you want to. Maybe it's something that you want to get it to market as fast as possible because maybe it's a Skeens base card. Topps Chrome, Skeens base. Yes, those have value, especially early on before a lot hit the pop report. Imagine being able to beat a lot of people to market with the card because you're eliminating a lot of shipping steps in between. Because the card is, you're check marking that box, it's going straight to PSA, and you're saying, cool, sell it. And then it immediately gets listed as a bin because Buy It Now is now live on the PSA vault, or maybe you send it direct to auction. You don't want to mess around with a bin. You want to get this thing to market while the market is hot and let people bid on it while there's few on the market. Well, you just beat everybody else to market that's doing it the traditional way. And that extra week or two could really matter. And you're talking about weeks potentially on the turnaround time on this stuff. It's 3 business days to get it shipped to me, another 3 business days to get it shipped to PSA, another 3 business days to get it shipped back to me after it's graded. Now we're just going straight to the source. It's just going straight to PSA. It's there in a couple of days. It's graded, and then you're immediately listing it for sale without having to wait for another, week or so to get the card back to you to list it. Now, you could list the card ahead of time once grades pop if you want to. I never liked doing that because I always got concerned about FedEx shipping taking too long to get the order to me, or it gets delayed somewhere or whatever, and now I need to ship the card and I don't have it in my hand. That's just a me thing. Maybe you're okay with that. With the images, you could easily list the card on eBay before it's in your hand. But imagine just not having to deal with any of that. So you could, if you wanted to, whether it's buying in the breaks or buying singles, sit behind your desk. If you have a good eye on eBay and maybe a little bit of luck, buy a bunch of singles, send them straight into grading, immediately sell them, get the money back, rinse and repeat over and over and over and over and over and over again. And throughout this whole entire thing, you never had to touch a card. You just press buttons on the keyboard and sat back and let the machine do its thing. Flip the cards around. For some people, that's probably blasphemy. And I get it. For some people, that sounds pretty appealing. I will for sure dabble in it. I'll for sure try it. Absolutely. I mean, there's some cards I buy that I don't necessarily, like some PC stuff that I buy, I don't necessarily care the grade. Some of those recent non-sports cards that I bought, perfect example. Like I bought those Jon Favreau autos a few months back. I bought the Patrick Stewart auto a few months back. I've bought, Star Wars autos, other non-sports autos. I like to have my stuff slabbed, even though I know it's probably going to grade like an 8 because it's got white corners. But I just like the idea of the card being protected inside the slab. So I don't necessarily care what it's going to grade. Like, if it comes back a 7 or an 8 or maybe even a 9 if I'm lucky, I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm doing it more for the authenticity of the card and the protection of having it in a slab. So for me, that would just be super convenient. It just saves more shipping. Anytime you can remove a step of your card going through shipping, that's fantastic. Because in all honesty, that's where a lot of the risk lies in cards, in my opinion, is things going wrong in shipping. So in a case like that, it's a PC card. I still want it shipped home because I know I physically want the item in my hand, but it's at least saving a shipping step. Instead of the card going from eBay to me and me to PSA and then back to me, it's just going straight to PSA and then straight to me. So it does eliminate a little bit of cross-country journey on some of this stuff. And as Nat and I discussed, this is going to trickle down for other categories. So you could do, I know Swaggle House and I have both discussed this in videos. You'll be able to potentially do the same thing in comics once that's live. Now, that might take a little bit longer because they still have to launch the comic division, whatever. But at some point in time, if a new trailer drops for a movie or a show, you could potentially run online, purchase the comic raw, send it in. And with comics, I'm assuming, we don't know this yet, we did not discuss this, I'm assuming they're going to offer a pressing service. Most grading companies do. I'd be shocked if they didn't. You can check mark to have the book pressed while it's at PSA, so it could go straight to the grader. They'll press it, grade it, and then you could get it on market fast. Imagine we see this all the time in baseball. Some random prospect gets called up and gets hot, and they don't have a lot of graded supply because maybe they weren't the top 20 in the draft class. So some people just grade everything. So there's some stuff out there, but not a ton. All of a sudden, this guy catches fire. You could go on eBay, start picking out the raw cards that you think look clean, immediately send them to PSA, and then immediately have them go to market, and you're beating everybody doing it the traditional way. They're 2 weeks behind you. Congratulations, maybe he got sent back down to the minors by then. Who knows? A lot can happen. So there's going to be some real advantages to this if you're willing to gamble a little bit on the risk of how does the card grade. And this is probably going to be one of those things where you're going to take some L's, but I guarantee you some people are going to have some pretty big W's. It's going to happen. But I do think a lot of people are going to head in this direction for stuff. Like I said, I would be willing to, it'd be actually, I'm already having the idea of like a video series of, I start with $1,000 to buy raw cards on eBay and send them directly to PSA for grading, and basically just do like a hands-off approach. Say like, I'm going to spend $1,000 on raw cards in, let's just call it January. Send them off, get them graded, immediately sell them all, regardless of what they grade, get the cash back and rinse and repeat, and just kind of see what happens each one of those cycles over and over and over again. That could actually be a pretty fun video series. That that idea was bouncing in my head as I was sitting here talking, and that will be something that I may end up doing. I don't know if it'll be $1,000, but whatever. Maybe it'll be $500. You could do it at really any price level just to kind of see how you do. You probably need to do at least a few $100 just to cover the cost of the cards and the grading. And the little bit bigger your budget is, the more stability you have on hits and misses. Because if your budget's small and you're only buying 1 or 2 cards, if you run cold on picking cards and you miss on a few, it could immediately set you back. But I think that could be a fun thing to kind of carry over those funds and just kind of see how long you could take it. Can you build it into something, or do you eventually wash out? So that will definitely be something I will for sure be thinking about doing, if not just doing it, coming up with the ground rules for it once kind of all this stuff fires up. I think that will be entertaining for myself and also just as good content to watch. But curious for your thoughts and comments on this. This is the way that an aspect of the hobby is heading. If you don't care about any of this, guess what? It doesn't really affect you. If you just want to buy singles and you want to have the card in your hand, great. Wait for dummies like me to buy blind on eBay, send them into PSA, get them graded, and then guess what? They're going to end up right back on eBay anyway, and then you can buy them then. And then you could choose to have it shipped home. You do not, even though this mini ecosystem exists, you do not have to participate in it, and that's okay. You could just sit on the sidelines and reach in and cherry pick the couple things that you want here and there. It's that easy. It's that easy, folks. But I do think between the instant grading, not instant grading, but the option to grade raw cards direct from eBay, in conjunction with PSA offers, in conjunction with direct selling on eBay through the PSA vault, whether it's auction, bin, best offer, I think those handful of systems, once they're all up and running and spinning, remember, not all this stuff is live yet. I think once all that merry-go-round starts going around, I think it's going to be a drastic shift for at least a decent chunk of volume in the hobby. Is almost going to be living in this own little whirlwind until people go in and kind of pull things out here and there. I think it's going to do really well. I think a lot of people are going to use it. I think some people will get burned by it. Some people will have some pretty big W's, but it'll be fun to watch. I know that. That's all I got. Catch you boys and girls on the next one. Have a great weekend. Peace.